This is the current version of the VIBEOLOgy Super Daily Chart. It is a combination of a few other of the charts I've made: building sparkly frequencies, how's your ego, and so you're starting a new routine. And I've arranged it to have them all, like everything you do on Tuesday is on one page. And I'm just trying it out to see if it works better than having them all in 3 separate booklets, right? And a critique that I have heard is that not everybody has time to do all these things or to chart about it. Like, filling this chart out does take me about 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, and setting up the start of the week does take a lot of time and reflection. And so I hear you on that. However, if you have time to yell at somebody online that their program doesn't fit your lifestyle, you have time, right? Like, sorry, not sorry. That's a conversation about how we have just been programmed to think our time is better spent being angry or feeding into heavy energies than doing these things. And if you really break it down, most of these things are probably things you're working on anyway and how you're using your time anyway. But this starts to get you thinking about making little choices that are different. Like, instead of listening to the news on your drive to whatever, listen to some music that makes you feel joy, right? Then you can put, like, I listened to Aaliyah for 30 minutes today, and that fills your joy container. Because the idea is we're filling up the sparkly containers by doing sparkly things all the time, right? We're also making sure our ego is healthy by trying to fill these needs in the healthiest way possible. And I know that in combining the charts, we have spirituality and creativity twice. That's on my list of things to edit. But then it also gives you a place to write in and just track to see if you're doing that new habit or routine. And this doesn't really have to be a big thing either. Like, I'm right now doing this stretch to stretch out my shoulders, right? It takes me about 3 minutes to do it. But when I write it down, then I know I'm doing it. And we have been programmed to like the reward of pride. So when you see here that you're actually doing all these great things, you will feel a bit more pride. And so that is who this is more directed at. If you feel like you don't even have the time to listen to this video about this worksheet, I apologize that my work is not catered to your lifestyle, but I'm real genuine in my apology. Sorry, sometimes I just find the way the internet works is really challenging to creators, but not going to get into that. What we are going to get into is who this is more designed for, right? Because while there are a lot of people who are working 2 or 3 jobs, who have families, who have social networks that require responsibility and obligation, I'm not trying to shame you in any way. Like, I'm not trying to say you need to do more things, right? Because it's completely the opposite. This is for, like, this kind of idea came from a time in my life where I had to quit teaching because I was having some mental health problems. And so I went from having like a 24/7 job to nothing, right? And I lived in a new town. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. My social calendar was going to therapy twice a week. And so most days I had like 14 to 16 hours of time to fill by myself. And so these sort of activities came from the idea of mental hygiene, right? Which is making sure you are filling your time with things that make you feel mentally healthier or are kind of better for our human animal, right? And so that is just here because if you start tracking your time, let's say you did just quit your job or you're not able to find work right now, like that's a thing too, or let you work, but you don't have anything sort of outside of it, whatever your circumstance is. Let's say you have 6 available hours that are yours to fill in every single day. If you spend 4 of those hours feeling anxious about the future, and then 2 of those hours trying to numb out, you're feeling anxiety, which is the fire, and apathy, which is the no sign. So you're spending your time and energy building these containers and filling these containers and feeling these frequencies, right? And so the idea with the chart is like, yeah, you can spend 5 hours worrying, but you can also spend 5 hours being creative. You can, doing yoga, that takes an hour out of your day. So you're trying to refocus your doing and your thinking to spark clear things, right? And that's another benefit of this chart I find is like, we have been programmed in like white supremacy, capitalism, et cetera, et cetera. And so that leaves us with this feeling that if we are not producing, if we are not like working on something, cleaning the house, doing errands, going to your job like 24/7, that you're worthless, right? And so you start to feel like, at the end of the day, you might tell yourself like, oh, it's never enough. I didn't do enough, right? So what this chart shows you is you're actually doing a lot of things. Right? It's like you're not, maybe in one day you do something in each of these categories. That's my goal. And then at the end of the day, I think, well, I didn't do nothing. Actually, I did a lot of things that were really healthy for me, and I deserve to feel pride about that, right? So we don't have this like never enough, I'm a terrible person, because you can see on the paper that you're doing a lot of things and you're not a terrible person, right? You just have to adjust what that looks like. Like for some reason, I feel like we've learned that like if you're not making $1 million a day, you're not being a good person, but that's not it, right? Like you can be a good person if you just like wake up every day and don't actively hurt anybody for the whole entire day. Like it doesn't, our values are quite skewed, right? And so that's where the How's Your Ego chart comes in, which I have a lot of other content about this that I can go into. But it is about reforming what you need, what you think you need, right? And unfortunately, like I just put out in a short today, a lot of these things that we actually need require kind of more and more money, which require more and more grinding, which is a whole thing. But you don't need, to buy a new car to feel good about yourself, right? You just need maybe to sleep. So yeah, this is the main thing I'm working on and with right now is this daily Superchart and the accompanying paperwork to sort of organize. There is a sheet to say like is each of these things, and then like what is your goal, and that can adjust. And then there's questions at the end of the week, and that I would say on Sunday to do all the questions and to set up the next week probably does take about an hour, maybe 2 hours. And it's hard. Sometimes I have a hard time doing it too, right? But it's not like the most, I don't know. It is workable for some people and some people's lives. Yeah.